Welcome back, everyone. I'm Synac, and this is video 2 of my basic PowerShell tutorial series. I was thinking about the content of this video as I rewatched my first one and realized that what got me into PowerShell wasn't, this high-level overview of scripting in general or anything like that. I wanted to see the theoretical concepts that made it work. I got into it because there was a real practical need for automation and scripting at my job. As such, I think that's kind of the direction we're going to move for this video, and we'll see how it plays and maybe do the future ones like this. So for this video, we're going to cover a very basic, straightforward, but highly useful file and folder management script. The commands that we're going to be using here are get child item. We're also going to be using the where object as well as the select object command. And maybe a few others if I let myself get sidetracked. I'm going to do my best to avoid using aliases here so it's clear what commands I'm using, but old habits die hard, so cut me some slack. So let's begin. Our first script, this is something that I wrote to fill a need at work. Because of the way our users create their folder structures on our file server, we're left with tons of empty folders that never had data filled in. We also had an archiving program that would clear up old files and move them, but wouldn't take the folders with it. As such, our file server was littered with orphaned folders that hadn't been accessed in ages, contained no data, and we're simply misleading our users as to what data should reside where. Since most of user profile folders contain subfolders with no data, we're going to use that as an example. So we're going to open up our PowerShell window and get a C users. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to type child item, and then our user profile folder. And that gives us what you would expect, a single layer of what's in what I looked for. It's the command you're going to use a lot, but it's not going to give us the kind of information we want here. So, now we're going to add the recurse flag. And that's going to tell it, now go through everything. So, again, it's a lot of data, but, it's not exactly what we want to know. So we need a way of parsing through this to find the objects that are A, folders, and B, completely empty. So we're going to start by looking for folders. So we're going to pipe or chain our commands together to where object. Now we're going to open up a script block, and anytime you see these braces being opened, that's indicating just a block of script is running. So we're going to type PS is container equals true. All of a sudden now the list has been formatted a bit. So here's a quick explanation of what we're doing. So whenever you see $_, that's PowerShell telling you you're referencing the thing that has been passed from another thing. So basically what you're saying is this right here represents whatever the hell this just sent over. Now, PS is container is a generic PowerShell property that just says, is this thing a directory or is it a file? So, true is not just like in Java programming, you would just type true and it would understand true meant you were comparing Boolean variables. PowerShell that actually has its own variable, true. Same thing with false. So, we run it, and now we get nothing but directories. Again, this has sorted things down a bit, but we still needed to know a little bit more. So, going to add to our script block, and, which, again, pretty straightforward. And then, we're going to type $_ get files dot count equals 0. Now, to go over that real quick, again, $_, so what we've been passed. Get files is a method that's built in to directory items that says what is underneath this directory, how many things, how many files. And then .count is a method that's associated with that. And this is basically saying if there are no files, so if that count variable comes back as 0, this is what we want. So now we've got something pretty awesome. However, what you may notice is if you look here, my documents folder came up as empty, even though there's this directory underneath it. That's because get files doesn't get directories as well as files. So we're going to have to add another AND clause. Now we're going to say $_ period get directories dot count equals 0. Close our script block. Now we run it and we only have the empty subfolders that I've created for the sake of this tutorial. So now that we've actually gotten this data out, we can see this is useful information, but it's not useful in a way that we can make a report out of. Like, this isn't something you'd pipe out to a text file or something, because it's just, generally speaking, not very readable. So we're going to chain one last command to this. So now we're going to chain that. We're going to pipe it to select object, and we're just going to go full name, and we're going to go last access time. Run it. Now we have what I would consider to be a very usable report. What we have here is a very quick, basically a bulleted list that says, here's the empty folder, here's the last time it was accessed. And really, if your boss doesn't care about when it was last accessed, he only cares if it's empty, just get him a full name, and we're done. And from there, we can pipe that out to empty folder report.txt. And now we have something that you can put in an email, send to your boss, and it's done. Well, okay, that's great, you know. But what if he wants you to do something with that? Well, if your server is like our server, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of these empty abandoned folders. So you're not going to want to go through and delete them all one off. But the cool thing is we don't have to just display that information. What we have passed through our script is folder objects, and those folder objects can be targeted with the remove command. So, whoops. So the remove item command. Now, we're going to run this with the what if flag. Generally speaking, anytime you're in PowerShell and you're going to type something that could potentially screw up your computer, there's probably a dash what if that can be tacked onto that last command. And all that does is tell you, this is what would have happened if you didn't put dash what if, and it's saying perform a remove directory on target, and there you go. So, that's just the real quick and dirty, you know, this looks like a real long, crappy command if you're used to coming from DOS. And you could do a script like this in DOS. You could write a batch file that would do this. The thing is what PowerShell gives you the ability to do is have this all be on one line and have it be in relatively plain English. And you don't have to handle passing variables around to different parts of a bat file. There's no logic management and flow control, that kind of thing. So this is this is something that I basically did this exact script at my job because it was something that was needed. And this is the kind of thing that I got into PowerShell for. So if this is something that you find interesting, I'll be back in with another bit of just practical PowerShell soon. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, shoot me an email, and my public key is in the description below. And thank you everybody for watching.